people want to talk at the same time. It's a way to have an orderly discussion. And the real key, if you look at this, the rules for the speaker is that you trade off speaking about the topic, and then when you're finished, you hand the tile to the other person, and then they have the floor. So you're quiet. When the other person has the tile, has the object, you hand it, don't throw it. That's what someone in the first one said. You chose something that was nice and flat that you could really zing across the, that's right, skim across the hole. And so it gives, it settles a heated argument to where whoever has the tile gets to say what they want to say. And then when they're done, they hand the tile and the other person gets to talk. So it's a technique that can take maybe going back and forth at each other and have a civil conversation. But there's a couple rules that really make it work. So the rules for the speaker: when you have the tile, when you have the floor, you speak for yourself. You don't mind read. You say what you think. You don't talk around it, the issue. You don't give little hints. You know, we talked about that last week on the communication styles, right? Dropping hints here and there and hoping that they read your mind and figure it out. If you're speaking, you just say what you're thinking, you're feeling, anything you want to communicate. It's your time to communicate that to your spouse. Keep the statements brief. Don't go on and on. Just a rambling conversation, you get lost very quickly, right? Even if you're listening intently, if you take, 15 minutes to say what you want to say, what did you say 10 minutes ago? I forgot, right? So make statements. Even if there's emotion involved, you can keep them brief. It doesn't need to be rambling and on and on. And then this is a real interesting thing, is to stop and let the listener paraphrase what you just said. So what that does is the listener is responsible for stating back in their own words what they heard you say. So if you're saying, I was working on the budget tonight and, we're just not going to have enough at the end of the month, and, maybe you could work a few extra hours to get a couple extra dollars to cover these bills. And so the paraphrase, okay, so you're telling me I'm not working enough hours, right? Well, and then that gives the speaker a chance to say, no, that wasn't my intent by that statement. You heard the wrong thing. I'm saying we're just not going to make this bill this month, right? So if there's an exchange where the listener is allowed to paraphrase back what they heard, it'll clear up any miscommunication right at the time that it's going on, okay? That's the important part of allowing the listener to paraphrase what you just heard, what they heard from you. Tanya and I did this after I taught this the first time, and it's really weird because when you take that time to say, okay, what I hear you saying is, and then you sort of repeat back to them, that's very unnatural for us to do. We want to just answer with what I'm saying, right? It's like, oh, I've already figured out the solution, so I'm just going to tell you what I think. But that's not the purpose right now. It's, okay, so you're telling me you believe this situation is got this issue and this is how you want to resolve it. And then the speaker can say, yes, that's what I'm saying. So once that speaker has talked or given their opinion or talked about the issue, then they would hand the floor over to the other person to make their comments, okay? So then that gives the opportunity for both people to go back and forth and just talk about the issue. If you're the listener, it's real important that when you paraphrase back to them, and here's the rules for the listener, paraphrase what you hear. You focus on the speaker's message, but don't rebut the items or the issue they're talking about. It's not, at this point, you're not trying to say, oh, but you misunderstand. You're wrong in the way you're looking at that. That's not the the purpose of this technique. It's to get them to say it, and then when you have the floor, then you can say, but that's not the way I saw the issue, here's how I saw it, and that way you get to go back and forth. It really seems to settle down the whole, someone says something and then you just come right back and rebut what they say. It's very helpful. So the rules for both is when the speaker has the floor, the listener is not supposed to bring up any new issues or items when they're listening. Wait until it's your turn to bring up any other points you want to share. The speaker keeps the floor even while the listener is paraphrasing. The speaker wants to make sure you've made clearly your point, what you're saying, before you transfer the floor to the other person. Let there be no misunderstanding by the time you give up the floor as to what you said or how they interpreted or how they heard what you said. And then, of course, you got to share the floor. You just can't hog the entire conversation. It's give and take, so you have to go back and forth. It's really interesting when you actually use the technique, because it's a bit awkward if you've never done anything like this, and it seems like things are taking a long time to talk about it, right? Because you're waiting on this exchange going back and forth. But if you're in the habit, kind of like I am, of just kind of cutting the conversation off and interrupting, and it's really good to think about this technique and just slow things down, allow them to make their points, and paraphrase what you heard them say. Give them the opportunity to clarify it. And that way, it really tends to settle down any kind of heated emotional exchange that you may have. So your homework tonight for this week is to pick a topic that has maybe been hard to discuss or an issue that's come up, and try and use the technique. If your spouse wasn't here to hear how it works, just kind of go through it with them. If they have any questions, just call me and I can talk with them. It's fairly straightforward to understand. So, and just practice. Just try it on a conversation and just see how you think it goes. So, you guys need two of them. You need, in case one of them gets broken when you throw it down.
We can call you anytime, day or night.
That's why I said I'm going to call you at 3 in the morning and say, you won't give me the floor.
That's right. That's right. What do I do when you wouldn't give me the floor? So. No, so I can't get the floor. Exactly. So I hope that helps. I like this, just kind of, even if you really don't get into kind of these knockdown, drag-out arguments, it's still just good to know just different techniques when things get a little heated, of just how to approach dealing with a tough subject. And it's nice to have maybe a technique that if things really do get heated, you can kind of say, okay, maybe we should use the tile thing, and that maybe settle things down a little bit. So next week we're going to try and get Laura Zettler to come in and present kind of finances within a family, how to just kind of deal with financial issues and dealing with family budgets and things like that. So hopefully.
If something happens, you do have a backup, right?
Yes, actually this coming week I will be here. The last time I was actually out of town when we scheduled her, and so when Lily got sick, and she couldn't do it, then we had no backup. So sorry about that. But yeah, I'll be here next week. Yeah, we could do that too. Robbie Courtney also does kind of family finance stuff. So, all right, thanks for coming. We'll see you next week.